The sun heats the earth by radiation. Radiant energy transmitted through space from the sun is absorbed by the earth's surface. At the earth's surface, temperatures rise due to conduction, and heat energy is released into the atmosphere. Heat is necessary for plant growth. Seeds germinate and grow when soil warms up after the cold of winter. Too much heat will cause tender seedlings to dehydrate and wither, and not enough heat will prevent seeds from germinating. Planting times and harvest times are temperature dependent. Greenhouses that control the temperature can speed up plant growth. What conditions are necessary to maintain a moderate temperature inside a greenhouse? This is how a greenhouse works: heat. Greenhouses have always been used to provide a warm, well-lit habitat for seedlings to start growing in the late winter and early spring. Commercial growers use elaborate large greenhouses to start seeds, while backyard gardeners create small closet-sized greenhouses. The one thing any greenhouse must have is a covering of translucent material and a means of controlling the temperature and humidity. Today you will measure the heat generated in a model greenhouse by altering the types of material that light passes through. Okay, for greenhouse heat, you are going to need a model greenhouse. So if you've already done greenhouse light, you've already got your box set up from that activity. If you don't, all you need to do is get a shoebox or a small cardboard box and just make sure that the top is taken off of it so it's wide open. Then you're going to need 4 different coverings for your greenhouse. I've got press and seal, wax paper, I've got clear cling wrap, and then I also have some clear colored bubble wrap. I need a measuring stick because you need to make sure that your sun model is 40 centimeters above the base of your model greenhouse. It's best to do this with a partner, but know that you don't necessarily have to have a partner because you can use a gooseneck lamp. In this case, I'm just using a ring stand and a lamp clamp. And very important that you use an incandescent light bulb. Today I'm using a 60-watt incandescent light bulb. These get very, very hot, so make sure you don't touch that during your investigation. And then, of course, we have our wireless temperature sensor with our PASCO software. All right, for data collection, we're going to have a total of 5 runs in this activity because you are going to first start with your control. I'm going to put the temperature sensor in here, let it run 4 minutes under the model of the sun, and then collect that final temperature point. Then we are going to let the temperature sensor cool down briefly and then move to each one of the upcoming 4 coverings. Before you get started in Table 1, you are asked to make predictions on each of these coverings. So wait till you see what our control temperature is, and then you're going to want to make predictions in Table 2, and then of course, you'll want to give your predictions in Table 1, and you're going to also want to give your reasoning on why you made those predictions. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to make sure my temperature sensor is connected to SparkView, and for this activity I'm only going to have a digits display. I'm going to set the temperature sensor in our model greenhouse. Remember, you have your measuring stick. You want to make sure that your model of the sun is 40 centimeters from the bottom, which it is. I'm going to move my box into placement, turn on the sun, and this is going to run for 4 minutes, and we'll come back at that time to give you the temperature reading. Okay, so it's been 4 minutes. I'm going to turn off my lamp, my sun, to give the temperature sensor a chance to cool down a bit. And for the control, we were at 32.4 degrees Celsius. I want to point out, if you want to change this to Fahrenheit, you just click on temperature, the Celsius here, and then you can click over that. So now you have it in Fahrenheit. I'm going to move it back to Celsius for what we're doing, but I'll make sure the data file that you have, you will have a table, so you will see it in both Celsius and Fahrenheit. or you could just manipulate this Spark Lab file. All right, so 32.4. Now, I'm going to still let that cool off on the side here. We are going to move to the clear cling wrap. So I'm going to get a sheet of that, cover the top of the greenhouse, and I do have some tape so I can make sure. These cling wraps, tell you what, let's try a longer one. That'll work better. Likes to stick to itself. Pull it over that way. You want it nice and taut or tight on the top of the box. And tape one side down first. Kind of wave my temperature sensor around a bit to cool it off because it's been warming up under that incandescent light bulb. Temperature's still going down. I'm going to put it inside the greenhouse and then secure the other side here. Hopefully you already made your prediction on what you think the temperature change will be like in this environment. All right, so now that I have the clear cling wrap on here, I'm going to push it back under our sun model. And I'm going to start recording data again for 4 minutes, and we'll cut back when we've got to that point. Okay, so it has been 4 minutes. I'm going to turn off the sun here, and we are at 34.8 degrees Celsius for the cling wrap. So let's remove the cling wrap. Let our greenhouse, oh, you can definitely feel a difference in there. That's pretty cool. Give it a little bit of time to cool off. You can even feel it in the sensor. That's really neat. And then the next one we're going to move to is the wax paper. So again, if you haven't done your predictions yet in Table 1, I would like you to predict what you think the temperature will be with the wax paper. You can move the greenhouse around to get some of that warm air out. Okay. I want this to cool down just a little bit more. Let's get this nice and taut on your greenhouse. You can even fold it like a gift box here to make sure no air is escaping out of the sides. Do the same in the back here as well. All right. Perfect. All right, so there we go. We've got our wax paper now covering our model greenhouse. I'm going to move this under the sun, get that turned on, start collecting data, and we'll be back in 4 minutes. Okay, so our 4 minutes is up, and the final reading is 33.7 degrees Celsius for our wax paper. All right, let's turn the sun off. Take that piece off. The next one you're going to use is the press and seal. When you do this on your own, know that you can try other different coverings that would be pretty interesting to see. Pick up the box, let it air out a little bit, give the temperature sensor a little bit of time to cool down. Press and seal is easy to work with, hence the name. Just going to get the first 3 sides going here. It's really important to make sure you take a couple minutes to cool off your sensor in between each run so you make sure you get accurate data. Okay, that looks good. Temperature sensor is back in the greenhouse. Press and seal so you get a nice closed system here. All right, I'm going to move this under our sun, turn it on, and start collecting data, and we'll be back in 4 minutes. Okay, it's been 4 minutes, and our press and seal has a final temperature of 40.8 degrees Celsius. If you've been following along and writing data down into your table, this is pretty significant. So I'm going to turn the sun off. And you're making observations while this is occurring too, and it was really neat watching the top of the press and seal because it actually was moving around. Wonder why it was doing that. I'm going to take that off, pull out my temperature sensor. Again, air out your greenhouse, get out that warm air. And our final run is going to be with the bubble wrap. Go ahead and get that started while the temperature sensor is cooling off. All right. The end of the tape always escapes me. I found it though. Okay, one side down. I can pull this under when I need to after I get my temperature sensor in there. Get these corners taped off for a better seal. Definitely want to give this one time to cool off. Most of them were starting at around 30 degrees Celsius. Almost there. Okay, go ahead and get that in. It can keep cooling off while I seal the rest of the greenhouse. Make sure I got my temperature sensor in a good spot. And let's tape these corners real quick. Okay. Final run, guys. Greenhouse under the sun, sun on, and we'll be back in 4 minutes. Okay, so we've done 4 minutes of data collection. Let's turn the sun off. Our final temperature reading was 33.5 degrees Celsius for your bubble wrap. So congratulations, you've completed 5 runs of data. Okay, so we've collected 5 runs of data, and you're going to have some data analysis and questions to work through. But let me show you a little bit with the software here. I want to make sure you know how to rename runs, so let's start with that. I'm going to go to the Experiment Tools, Manage Runs, and you have a section where it says Choose Run to Rename. So let's look at Run 1. There was nothing on your greenhouse for this phase, so let's call that our control. And let's go to run 2. That was the one where we used the clear plastic wrap. Oops, didn't have to hit done yet. You can stay in here. Run 3 was when we used the wax paper. Run 4 was the press and seal. So I'm just going to put P and S for press and seal. And then our 5th one was the bubble wrap. Okay, so you have all your runs named so you can decipher between each one. Remember, if you want to toggle between Celsius and Fahrenheit, you just click on temperature over here on the Celsius display and go to Fahrenheit, and it'll bring that up. But let me show you one more thing you can do. I'm going to add a page. So I go to the top left here, and I'm just going to pull in the one-page template and click on the line graph display. The measurement is going to be temperature. And check this out. This is a whole nother way to see the data that you collected. It might be easier for you to see the clear difference between each one, how much heat was retained or released, however you want to interpret that on your side. So a really neat way to visualize the data. And again here, if you want to see it in Fahrenheit, you just do the same thing you did with the digits display, and you can toggle between Celsius and Fahrenheit for that view. Wow, that press and seal got up over almost 106 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty cool. All right, guys, so take the data that you collected, the observations that you made, and tackle those questions in your student activity sheet.